What's up, guys? I'm Johnny Fandom, and we talk about all things fandom, such as Star Wars, Harry Potter, Disney, whatever, you name it. We're going to talk about it. And I am so excited about today's video. You have no idea. I am so excited because I have been trying to figure this out for a while. If you've been here before, you probably see my two videos where I talk about Max's mom. In the first video, I discussed how we didn't know who Max's mom was. And then the second video, I still discussed who we didn't know who Max's mom was, but with some more evidence to show that the Goofy Jr. that we saw in the old school cartoons wasn't actually Max. Although Disney said it was, it just doesn't line up and doesn't make sense with the timeline, in which I also did a Goofy family timeline as well. So you can watch all three of those videos. Links to be in the description down below if you want to go check those out. But I am here today to tell you that I finally figured it out. I figured out who Max's mom is. That's right. I figured out the long waited questions about who Max's mom is. And I'm going to tell you. Let's get into it. So I started looking, originally I started looking at all the movies, the cartoons, trying to figure out what information I could find about Max's mom. And then I was looking at a few books, and I thought I figured it out. I found this book. If you look at some of these pictures here, it takes place in like medieval time with Goofy, Max, and Mrs.Goof. Don't get a name, but it's Mrs.Goof. This is the only time that this female Goofy character appears. So it's kind of weird, and the story took place in like a medieval time, so it didn't really add up with the whole timeline of events. So it's just like a one-off book. So I decided that can't be it. There's no other mention of her. This is the only book that she appears in. So there has to be something else. So I went deeper. I went into the comic books, the old school Sunday comic strips, and I found it. Goofy only ever dated two characters besides the girl he dated in college in Extremely Goofy movie. I'm talking about in the past. Technically 3 if you don't abide by the timeline, but we'll get to that later. Two characters he ever dated. He dated Clarabelle and another character, which I'll gotta review that in a minute because it's very important. And Clarabelle and this other woman, at some point he started basically dating them at the same time. Thank Goofy, you a player. And I'll be back. No, you go sit down. Go sit down. Go. So Goofy was dating these two women at the same time. Clarabelle basically went to Goofy and said, "You need to make a decision, me or her." And Goofy chose her. So when Goofy chose her, Clarabelle said, "Alright, goodbye." And Clarabelle went back to dating Horse Collar. And then that's when we don't ever see Goofy hang out with Clarabelle again. And I think that's the misconception that people think oh, well, Goofy dated Clarabelle. Can't have a dog dating a cow, which is kind of weird, but that's why people think that Goofy's a cow. He's not a cow. So, Goofy just full on dated this other girl. And it's the only time that we ever see Goofy dating someone until Max's presence. And her name is Gory B. And she's a bee. So you went from dating a horse. You went from dating a cow to a bee. Anyway, this is the only female character that Goofy is with until Max's creation. So the only logic I could do is put together and say that this is Max's mom. Unfortunately, we don't know what happened to her. When Goofy and her have Max, we see Max growing up without her. She just basically disappeared from existence. There's theories out there about how she passed away, and nothing is clearly said. And there was another theory that I'm going to get into, but if you've been following my channel for a while, and you have seen the Goofy timeline, this change of events would happen actually with Goofy's mom, not Max's mom. So, Max's mom is Gory B, which still leaves the question open, who is that red-headed person that is Goofy's mom? And I'm going to answer that question too. I know. So exciting. We know who Max's mom is, and we know who Goofy's mom is. And I know what happened to Goofy's mom. Why she passed away. Unfortunately, we don't know how Max's mom passed away. But if you take those two things, the George Goof timeline and the ms.goof, and the Goofy timeline, and kind of combine them and say that George Goof is Goofy, because technically he is Goofy, just a different, it's not really his father, it's just the way I put together the timeline. This is what happened to Max's mom. And I'll kind of explain that mumbo jumbo time. Tell me why me hit at the end. But let's get into a quick sponsor from none other than Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a fantastic company. I've been buying products from them for a long time. I mostly buy the energy drinks with 0 sugars, 0 calories, 0 dyes, but it's full of amino acids, caffeine, and the right nutrients to get you through any day. They also have protein cakes, other protein powders, pre-workout mixes. They even just came out with their own whey protein. So go to repsports.com, use coupon code Johnny Huey, and save yourself 15% off. It's really a great product. I drink this every day. I'm not a coffee drinker, so this is just like, I drink one of these, I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm ready to go to work. Definitely a great product. And I've tried a lot of other products too. Definitely fantastic. I've tried other people's stuff and the same type of products, but this is definitely the best. I've gotten offers from other companies that do similar things. This one is definitely best. I stuck with this one. It is fantastic. So make sure you go to repsports.com, use coupon code Johnny Huey and save yourself 15% off, because this is definitely a product, especially for you other YouTubers out there who stay up late and wake up early to film videos like I do. So, if we follow my timeline, which is Dippy Dog had George Keefe, had Goofy, had Max. The Goofy dated Goalie B and had Max. We don't know what happened to Goalie B. She just vanished. If we go to George Keefe timeline, George Keefe was married to a redhead and had Goofy Jr., which was the Goofy we know. That redhead, we found a name. She makes one single face appearance in some obscure comic book, and it's like they mention her by name. They say that this is basically who she is, but they don't really allude to it. The rest of the time, she's just called Mrs.goof. Her name is Penny Pooch, and the only picture we have of Penny Pooch makes it look like she's a kid, and I'll show that here. But it is stated in other written items that Goofy did date Penny Pooch, but in my timeline it would be George Keefe dated Penny Pooch, so it's the only other person that would be dating. So George Keefe married Penny Pooch, and now her name is Penny Goof or Penny Keefe, depending on how you want to pronounce. So the red-headed figure that we see in the old school cartoons is none other than Penny Pooch. However, she passed away, and we know how. In the old cartoons, there's one episode where Goofy stays home. So I keep saying Goofy because technically he is Goofy, but my headcanon says he's George Keefe. So in the old school cartoons, we see George Keefe staying home, and Penny Pooch goes out for the day, hangs out with friends, whatever it may be. And then we see this scene where the doorbell rings, and it's the milkman delivering the milk. It's the FedEx guy delivering a package. It's the bakery guy delivering bread. Just a bunch of guys coming in throughout the day, ringing the doorbell to do certain things. However, every single time George Keefe answers the door, these people, the milkman, the muffin man, whatever it may be, end up kissing George Keefe on the lips, like instantly. Like, open the door, kiss. So the thought is, Penny Pooch stays home all day while George Keefe works. She's having an affair with all these other characters. That's right. Goofy's mom was having an affair with the milkman, the paper boy, the bread man, muffin man, the FedEx dude, all of them. George Keefe was not happy about this. So the dark side of this theory is that George Keefe killed her. However, it also could have been an accident, and this is physical proof on how she died. George Keefe and Penny Pooch went to the Grand Canyon. They were having a good time. They were taking pictures. George Keefe asked to take a picture of Penny Pooch on the edge of the Grand Canyon, and I have the text right here. George Keefe says, "Yo, can you back up a little bit? I want to get a better picture." And as she backs up, she falls off the Grand Canyon. So she dies by falling off the Grand Canyon. George Goof didn't technically push her, so it could have been an accident. Maybe she just stepped too far back. But at the same time, he told her to step back. So, did he kill her because of the affair? You let me know in the comments down below. So, now that we know what happened to Goofy's mom, let's talk about Max's mom and the whole mumble jumble timeline thing. So, in conclusion, if we follow my timeline of events, that Deputy Dog is the grandfather. Deputy Dog had George Goof. George Goof married Penny Pooch. They had Goofy Jr. Then Goofy Jr. met up with Glory B, and they had ms.goof. And then we have the story that we have. Technically, Deputy Dog to Goofy is all the same character according to Disney itself. Goofy is just an evolution between all those characters. So, in reality, Goofy would have dated Penny Pooch, Glory B, and Clarabelle. So, in actual true facts of Disney wise, Penny Pooch is the more candidate of who Max's mom is, because in the Disney franchise and Disney canon, Goofy Jr., which was the son of George Goof, is actually Max. So Goofy Jr. eventually turns into Max. Of course, so Penny Pooch is actually Max's mom. So, in this real canon of Disney, Penny Pooch is Max's mom. She's the only one that fits with those dating because she has the red hair. And then Max's mom would eventually die because of falling off the Grand Canyon, and possibility of Goofy letting it happen because she had an affair with the milkman and many others. So, we have finally discovered that Max's mom is Penny Pooch, and she died by falling off the Grand Canyon. Now, because it's me, and I created other videos, and if you look at the timeline, you know, ms.goof was Goofy Jr. technically created in the 60s. And then you have ms.goof in the 2000s as a teenager. That's a long time to age. He'd be a lot older and not in high school. So, if we take a step back and split up into a reality of a time frame of when Goofy was technically created, you know, as Deputy Dog, saying that's not Goofy, and just, you know, going down the timeline, go check out the timeline video because I explained all the different type of events there. If we go down the timeline, in reality of our timeline, it makes more sense that George Goof was with Penny Pooch. She fell down the Grand Canyon, so Goofy Jr. is actually Goofy. Goofy had Max with Glory B. It makes sense. So, this is a conclusion of not the Disney canon, but my canon. We have Deputy Dog. Deputy Dog liked to go to the circus and eat his popcorn. He got together with somebody. Not sure exactly who, but maybe I can find out in another video. The B-Dog had George Goof. George Goof's nickname was Goofy, so it was George Goofy Goof. He got together with Penny Pooch. They had a lovely son, Goofy Jr., because of his nickname, so they named him Goofy Jr. They had a lovely family. Goofy was out working every day, and she would stay at home messing around with the milkman. Be quiet. No. Sit. Then one day they go to the Grand Canyon. George Goof takes a picture of her. She falls off the Grand Canyon. Yeah. Then, when Goofy Jr. grows up, he starts dating Glory B. They have Max. Glory B unfortunately disappears. Like, literally just disappears. No more mention of her, no more nothing, but she's the only other person that Goofy would have dated in my timeline in order to be Max's mom. And then Max goes up, and we have the Goof Troop, Goofy Movie, and Extreme Goofy Movie. And shout out to Leaning Tower Cheesa. Anyway, so we have two different timeline of events. We have the Goofy timeline, which faces the reality of actual time and how it flows. Because technically Goofy is like 90 years old at this point, so in Goof Troop he would have been 60. Doesn't really seem like he's that old when Max is like 14. It's just kind of odd. So in order to make that work, we had to like chop it down to say Goofy was technically born in 1960 instead of 1930, so it works out. Anyway, so we have my timeline events, which is what I call the Great Goofy Timeline. And like I said, go check out the video. Link will be in the description down below, along with my other two Max's Mom's videos. Then we have the actual Disney canon, which would be Max's mom is Penny Pooch. So Max technically has two moms. Max's real mom is Penny Pooch, according to Disney. Max's real mom, according to me, is Glory B. So, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts and which timeline you want to represent. Tell me if you want to believe that Disney is true, fully franchise, and Max is Goofy Jr. and his mom would be Penny Pooch. And let me know your thoughts about the whole Grand Canyon thing. Or do you want to believe my timeline and follow that Max is the son of Goof, is the son of George Goof, is the son of the B-Dog, and therefore Max's mom is Glory B, which is still a mystery on how she disappeared, and Max's grandma would be the Penny Pooch. So it's unfortunate that Max never got to meet his grandma. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you don't miss another video, because I post a video every Monday and Wednesday. And I'll see you guys next time. So before you go, make sure you check out this video right here where I first talk about Max's mom, and this is the Goofy timeline. Or you can go in the link in the description down below. Also, please go check out my merch store. We'll have a ton of awesome stuff out there. I'm coming out with new content every day. I even have a shirt now that says I am not a cow with Goofy on it. Go check it out. Because we all know he is not a dang cow. Also, hit that join button because I have content on here just for you. Secret content that no one else can see unless you hit that join button. And I'm also going to work on merch just for you that hit the join button. I also have a Patreon page. Same thing over there. Content on there that you can't get anywhere else except for the Patreon page. So it would help me out a bunch. Please, thank you. And again, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. It really does help. I want to keep doing this so that you can keep sitting there wherever you are. I see you, Fred, over there on the couch in the corner. Video's over anyway. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.